Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something we've all faced, but very few of us have been taught how to handle. What do you say? What do you do when you don't like someone? Because the truth is, life is full of people we're not going to connect with, people who rub us the wrong way, and situations where our feelings clash with our responsibilities. But here's the thing. Your words in those moments, your self-control in those conversations can either protect your peace or destroy it. And the difference isn't about how much you like them. It's about how much you respect yourself. This isn't about fake kindness or pretending. It's about learning to respond with strength, clarity, and dignity, even when your irrespect is not something you give away because the other person has earned it. It's something you choose because it reflects who you are and how much control you have over yourself. When you don't like someone, when their behavior frustrates you, when their attitude grates on your nerves, the natural impulse is to let that irritation leak out in your words. Maybe it's sarcasm, maybe it's sharpness, maybe it's silence with an edge. But here's the problem with that. Every time you allow your dislike for someone to dictate your tone or your words, you hand them power over your self-control. You are no longer speaking from strength, you are reacting out of weakness. Respect, in moments like that, isn't about them at all. It's about guarding your peace, preserving your self-respect, and showing that you know how to handle yourself no matter who you're dealing with. Think about the times when you've lost your cool with someone you didn't like. Maybe you walked away from the conversation and replayed it in your head, thinking about how you snapped back, how you got loud, or how you dropped to their level. Did it ever really feel good afterward? Sure, it might have felt powerful in the moment, like you were putting them in their place. But later, it often leaves you with a sense of regret or emptiness because deep down you know you let their behavior pull you out of character. That's why respect is for you. It's a shield. It keeps you in control of yourself when someone else is trying to drag you into chaos. It reminds you that your words should always reflect your values, not your anger. There's a huge misconception that respect equals approval or agreement. It doesn't. You don't have to like someone to speak respectfully to them. You don't have to admire someone to treat them with composure. Respect is simply choosing not to poison yourself with negativity by mirroring their bad behavior. It's realizing that every interaction is a reflection of your discipline. The person you don't like is already showing you who they are through their actions. If you respond with hostility, all you've done is shown them that they succeeded in controlling you. But when you respond with measured words, when you stay calm, you silently communicate that they don't get to pull your strings. That's real strength. Think about leaders, people you admire, people who carry themselves with dignity. Do you think they like everyone they meet? Absolutely not. But they know how to separate their personal feelings from their professional or human response. They don't waste energy showing disdain because their energy is too valuable. They know respect is their armor, their way of keeping their power intact. If you want to live with the same kind of composure, then you have to practice respect in the exact moments it feels hardest. That's where the growth is. Anyone can be respectful to someone they like. True discipline is being respectful when everything in you doesn't want to now. Does this mean you have to be overly nice or fake? No. Respect isn't sugarcoating. It's not pretending to like someone you don't. It's about the way you control your delivery. It's about saying what you need to say, but without sharp edges that cut you in the process. For example, instead of letting frustration guide you into snapping, "I don't want to deal with you," you could calmly say, "This isn't the right time, let's revisit this later." Both communicate distance, but one leaves you with control, the other leaves you reacting out of frustration. That difference is everything. It's not for them, it's for you. Because when you walk away, you'll know you stayed aligned with your values. When you practice respect as self-control, you'll notice how it changes your energy. Instead of walking away angry and replaying the conversation in your mind, you walk away steady. Instead of feeling drained, you feel like you stayed true to yourself. And that confidence, that quiet strength, builds every time you choose it. It makes you unshakable. People will notice it too. They may not say it out loud, but they'll feel it. They'll see that you don't get rattled easily, that you don't let your emotions be controlled by someone else. And that's the kind of presence that commands respect back. even from those who don't like you. Respect is also about boundaries. When you don't like someone, you might be tempted to avoid them completely or to lash out. But respect allows you to set boundaries without hostility. You can be firm without being cruel. You can say no without raising your voice. You can stand your ground without throwing insults. That balance is powerful. It communicates that you value yourself enough to protect your peace without lowering your standards. And when you do that consistently, people learn they can't control you with their behavior. They realize they can't bait you into losing your cool. That kind of steadiness is rare, and it makes people think twice before testing your patience again. Let's be honest, respect is hardest when emotions are high. It's easy to say, stay calm when you're not in the moment, but when you're face to face with someone you don't like, everything in you wants to react. That's why you need to train yourself beforehand to remember respect is your strength. It's the line you don't cross, because once you do, you've let them win. They've stolen your control. But if you hold your ground, if you choose your words with discipline, you'll leave that situation with peace of mind. And peace of mind is priceless. So when you don't like someone, remind yourself this is not about them. It's not about whether they deserve respect. It's about who you want to be when the conversation is over. Do you want to be the person who reacted and felt regret later, or the person who stayed in control and walked away stronger? The choice is always yours, and respect is the key to making sure you always choose strength over weakness, control over reaction, and peace over chaos. Motions are tested. That's what I'm going to show you today. When you think about boundaries, most people immediately imagine walls, distance, and shutting people out. But real boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting your peace while still being able to communicate with clarity. When you don't like someone, when you find yourself in conversations that test your patience, it can be tempting to go silent with resentment or explode with frustration. Both of those extremes come from the same place, letting the other person dictate your behavior. But when you learn to set boundaries with clarity, not hostility, you take control back. You show that your words are not weapons to hurt, but tools to protect. You make it clear where you stand without letting your emotions cloud the message. The strength of a boundary is not in how loud you deliver it, but in how clear and consistent you are with it. Think about it. When someone shouts a boundary like, "Don't ever talk to me like that again," the volume becomes the focus, not the content. The other person reacts to the tone instead of the truth of the words. But when you calmly, firmly say, "I'm not going to continue this conversation if it goes in that direction," your message stands on its own. It's steady, not sharp. It doesn't invite an argument. It simply states a limit. That is clarity without hostility, and it's far more powerful than any outburst. Boundaries aren't about teaching the other person a lesson. They're not about punishment. They are about teaching yourself to honor your limits. Every time you enforce a boundary with calm, direct words, you remind yourself that your peace is worth protecting. It's easy to cross your own boundaries when emotions are running high, when you want to prove a point, or when you want to show someone how wrong they are. But that only leaves you drained because you've sacrificed your calm to make them feel your anger. True boundaries are never about making them feel something. They are about making sure you stay aligned with your own standards. There's a misconception that setting boundaries is harsh or cold. That if you're clear, people will think you're rude. But clarity doesn't mean cruelty. You can be straightforward without being disrespectful. For example, instead of saying, "I can't stand talking to you," you could say, "I don't think this conversation is productive, so I'm going to step away." Both communicate the same reality. You don't want to engage, but one carries hostility and the other carries control. The difference is that one escalates the situation while the other de-escalates it, protecting your energy in the process. Firm words don't need sharp edges to cut through the noise. Boundaries also bring freedom. When you know you can step into any conversation and protect yourself with calm, clear words, you stop feeling trapped by people you don't like. You don't have to avoid them completely. You don't have to carry dread into every interaction. You know that you can handle yourself, and that confidence makes even difficult interactions lighter. Instead of stressing about how they'll act, you focus on how you'll respond, and that shift takes you from powerless to powerful, from reactive to proactive, Another important part of setting boundaries with clarity is consistency. People will test your limits. They will see if you really mean what you say. The first time you calmly tell someone, "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way," they may brush it off or push harder. But if you remain consistent, if you calmly restate your boundary and follow through on it, they eventually learn that you are not someone who can be pushed past your limits. That consistency builds trust in yourself. You prove to yourself that your words carry weight, and that weight comes not from hostility, but from the steadiness with which you use them. Boundaries also allow you to stay connected to your values. When you respond with hostility, even if you feel justified, you often look back and realize you acted out of character. You let your dislike for the person steer your behavior. But when you hold firm with clarity, you stay true to who you are. You don't give them the satisfaction of dragging you down. You walk away with peace of mind, knowing that you protected yourself without lowering yourself. That's a victory every time it happens, and those victories add up, making you stronger and more confident. In every difficult conversation, it's also worth remembering that clarity is kind, even when it feels tough. When you're vague, when you let someone cross your boundaries without saying anything, you build silent resentment. They don't know where you stand, and you end up carrying the frustration. But when you're clear, you give them the opportunity to adjust, and you give yourself the relief of honesty. You don't have to sugarcoat, you don't have to smile through gritted teeth. You can simply state your truth directly and calmly. That's not cruel. It's actually the most respectful way to communicate because it leaves no room for confusion or games. Boundaries with clarity, not hostility, are also contagious. When you model calm strength, people notice. They see that you don't get pulled into unnecessary drama. They see that your words are steady and that you mean what you say without needing to shout. Over time, that example influences the people around you. Some will learn to mirror your calm. Others will realize they can't shake you and eventually stop trying. Either way, you win because you've shown that strength doesn't have to be loud to be heard. At the end of the day, setting boundaries with clarity is about respect for yourself and your peace. It's about making sure you don't waste your energy in battles that don't deserve it. It's about walking into any situation knowing you can stand your ground without losing